What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Quarters Podcast tonight. We got a fun one for you guys. We're going to do a little this or that. We're looking at some rookie picks on the clock, who we would rather have. So who are we going with, Ted McMillan or Travis Hunter, TreVeyon, Henderson, Quinshon, Judkins, and a bunch more. We have rapid fire segment that we definitely won't talk too much. That's not anything that we do here. But we definitely want to plug our rookie guide. Make sure that you're out there. I know we did it a month ago, but still take a look. I know there's still people out there that are not out here, drafting yet. There are some leagues that do draft in the summer because they're not degenerates. So there is still that option out there. And you go check out our Substack and Patreon. We are pushing to 1,000 Substack members. We're pretty close. We're about 50-ish away, probably a little bit more. I have not checked the day. So if you want to go check that out, we have daily articles out there. We're pumping out a bunch of content for you guys. The Patreon as well. Jay Stein just dropped his 2026 index, getting ready for next year's class. So that's a lot of fun. But we still want to help you guys out with your rookie draft. We still want to help you out with some of these players. And for the this or that, we're going to be talking about, hey, maybe you can trade for some of these guys. Talk about a little trade value, all of that stuff as we get into it. All right, so let's talk rookies. First on the docket today, Ted McMillan, Panthers, versus Travis Hunter with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Rookie ADP, this is kind of where they're going. They're basically going back-to-back. Surprisingly, right now, according to DLF's ADP, Ted McMillan is going as wide receiver 2, and Travis Hunter is wide receiver 1. So we're seeing Travis go pretty high. I mean, I've seen him as high as 102. I've seen Travis Hunter go higher than Ted McMillan in a lot of drafts out there. So that definitely fits there. When you're looking at this as a profile and a prospect profile of where they both hit, obviously Ted comes in a little bigger, 6'4", 219. Last year, the stats look pretty good. 1,300 yards, the 8 touchdowns. ADOT was 13.7. Yards per out run was 2.87. Receiving grade was pretty good, too, at 85.8. Obviously, Travis Hunter won the Heisman, playing that dual, two-way, corner / wide receiver. He bested McMillan in terms of receiving grade at 89.0 and touchdowns. He still had 1,200 yards as well. He was dominant. So let's be clear. Both these guys had a pretty good season. I'd say Ted had a little bit of a down year, but the down year was 1,300 yards and 8 touchdowns. So that's not a bad down year there. So if you're picking on the clock between these guys, Christian, where are you leaning and why?
So I still lean Ted McMillan, but as I've done more research this offseason, honestly, I warmed up to Travis Hunter. I was kind of in the mold of, I don't think the two-way thing's going to work. And I've said that for a long time. And I still kind of believe that. I just think that they are going to have him major in one side and minor in the other. Meaning, I think he's going to be a specialty player on one side, and everything that has come out of Jacksonville so far has indicated that Travis Hunter is going to major on offense and minor on defense. I don't agree with that evaluation of him. And even Liam Cohen came out yesterday and said he's a natural corner. Like he's a very, very good player at corner. So it's like, I don't know if that shocked Liam Cohen or if maybe Liam Cohen just doesn't watch the defense. That would actually make sense to me. But so maybe he didn't see the Travis Hunter snaps. But so I've warmed up to Travis Hunter because as I researched Liam Cohen's offense and how he likes to utilize those wide receivers, I mean, it's as simple as get the ball in Travis Hunter's hands and let him go. And Liam Cohen is fantastic at doing that with his wideouts. I highlighted it in the scheme change article that we talked a little bit about that last week, but or a couple weeks ago. I don't know when that was, but Liam Cohen used Chris Godwin primarily as a screen player when he was healthy last year. Like that was primarily how he was getting his yards, and he was the best screen player in the NFL when healthy. So I think that's going to be a major part of Travis Hunter's game. And I think that's going to allow him to kind of avoid some of that contact that gives you concern when he is playing so many snaps. On the flip side, Ted McMillan is just a fantastic prospect that got just nitpicked over and over and over throughout the draft process, as we see with these bigger body wide receivers. People talked about, can he run routes? Can he get open? Yep, he sure can. It's very similar to Drake London, and I think that that's kind of the ceiling that we're looking at with Ted McMillan. And Drake London just finished as a top 5 receiver last year. So I think when you combine the fact that Bryce Young never had a go-to number 1 wide receiver, I think Ted McMillan is going to lead the Panthers in targets. I don't think that's going to be the case for Travis Hunter in Jacksonville because Brian Thomas Jr. does exist. So I still lean Ted McMillan, but I think Travis Hunter is a fine pick. I wouldn't take Travis Hunter ever really above Ted McMillan, but Hunter being up in that top 5 to 6 range is completely fine to me.
Yeah, I'll just add in a little bit of different things because I mean, again, if you listen to this throughout the whole draft, it's for me Hunter the player, Ted the receiver. I think that's for a lot of people as well. Yeah. And when you're going for this discussion in a more of a fantasy view, unless you're gonna push for incorporating tackles to be a stat, counting in your league, or you think you could get that passed in 6 years, I don't really see why I would take Travis Hunter over McMillan for that reason. They both are great in the red zone. Obviously, Hunter showed some of the best, skying for the ball and just pluck ability of anyone I've ever seen. So that gives him the edge in the 15 touchdowns there. And he was obviously the best target, best player on the field by far for Colorado. And so was Ted for Arizona, but a bit harder competition, it felt like most of the time. The big thing I'll go is what's available. So obviously we know the Jacksonville Jaguars kind of cleaned house with the new coach in the receiving room. Panthers, they just didn't really have a house. So, we're going to kind of go there. Panthers have 124 vacated targets and 860 vacated air yards. So that's 20% of the air yards and 24% of the targets. It would be pretty obvious for Ted McMillan to get that, and that'd be a great rookie year for him if he got those exact stats. Obviously, those aren't, put it in and that's what it is. But on the flip side, the Jaguars have 212 vacated targets, so 40% of the target share between everyone and their mother that had gotten paid by the last regime being taken away from this team, and a total of 1,876 air yards. So availability in the offense, as well as competition in the offense, goes towards Travis Hunter. That's where it's a little bit of a weird thing. I do think in the red zone, it's going Travis Hunter's way. I think the big plays, I think both receivers can do. Because I like the player so much and there's so much opportunity available, I think I have to go Hunter, unfortunately. But all money going into this was McMillan. But the more I've looked, I'm like, okay, we've seen some good things from the Jaguars. We've seen this offense work in a different system with a different quarterback that could do some of the same stuff. And now we haven't really seen the offense fully work in Carolina with this system. They haven't had Ted McMillan before, but
yeah. I don't know. I go back to what Canale's offense was in Tampa a little bit, and I think maybe that's what he does with Tet, and he looks at Mike Evans, and we've talked about Mike Evans, Drake London comms for a while now with him, so maybe that's kind of how they lean. I've had this decision in a couple drafts, and I took Tet. And I think, and so that's where I lean is because, I'm not going to just lie to you guys and say, oh, Hunter, even though I took Tet in the league. So I remember I had this in the league and I looked at it. And the reason why I lean Tet is kind of what Christian touched on a little bit is the dual side of it. He's going to play corner. He's going to play wide receiver. And I think that I just feel more comfortable on a week out basis, putting Tet in my lineup because I know those consistent targets are going to be there. Now, Hunter for sure is like a ceiling, has those big games. Hunter will probably have those things where you're like, holy shit, he just got 15 targets in this game, 11 catches. That's Travis Hunter, which he can do. I just think more consistent floor. And I think that with a high ceiling, because really there's no one on that offense. I was not Xavier Leggett guy. I don't think these guys were Xavier Leggett guys. And I don't think he's done enough to where you really command that. Jatavian Sanders, I was not a huge Jatavian Sanders guy. When you look into that offense, it is really Tet there. So to me, that's where I lean. And that's just a simple, just volume production thing. All things considered, talent-wise, it's Hunter. But from a fantasy landing spot, what I like about them, not having to deal with Brian Thomas Jr. and Tet's their guy, I lean Tet there.
And just it's
the safe pick. It is.
And just the last thing on Travis Hunter, I actually don't think that from a route running perspective, he's all there yet. We've talked about that a lot because he had to focus so much on being a corner, and that I think corner's harder to play than wide receiver. Honestly, I just don't think Travis Hunter has put in the time to really refine those routes. Whereas people nitpicked McMillan's route running, but it's pretty fantastic the way he gets open. It's not across the board the best route runner that you'll ever see, but also it's not dancing, which is what Hunter currently is doing. And we'll see if that works. But two really good players, man. I'm glad they both went top 10.
Can we stop comparing the freaking route running of Brian Thomas Jr. and Travis Hunter, like on all those like clips that we're seeing from camp, by the way? Like it's such a disservice to Travis Hunter. Like he was not getting coached up at Colorado. That kid is pure just talent. Like give him some time, because I have been seeing a lot of takes like that. And it's like, no shit, he doesn't look good as Brian Thomas Jr. He shouldn't look as good as Brian Thomas Jr. right now. Brian Thomas Jr. is a top 10 wide receiver in the league. To be honest, he's close. He's pushing there.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So stop it. Like I see that stuff, and it's like it drives me absolutely crazy right now in terms of like, that the comp and just like the clips and stuff. I don't know. I'm starting to feel like an old man now. But all right, let's go to the next one. TreVeyon Henderson, running back out of Ohio State. He's on the New England Patriots. And then we have Quinshon Judkins, the Browns running back, also from the Buckeyes. Right now, Henderson's running back 3. Quinshon's at running back 4-ish, like when you're thinking of kind of ADP and where the ADP is at right now. Some of them, sometimes it's flipped. I have seen Quinshon jump ahead of TreVeyon a couple times. It's not all the time. Now, when you're looking at their stats from last year, obviously they play on the same team. So in 2024, TreVeyon's rush grade is 91.8. He gets the check there, and his 10 plus explosive runs at 32. So he gets those two kind of checks there. From missed tackles force, he had 37, 1,000 yards rushing and 10 touchdowns. On the flip side, Judkins had 14 touchdowns, 1,000 yards, and 43 missed tackles force. So he kind of gets the bumps there. He had a 90.0 rushing grade, but to be clear, both these guys were very, very efficient last year and very good. Now, when you look at the landing spot there, I think that's the question mark here. I mean, Judkins kind of comes into a very, very solid situation with the Browns with 17 quarterbacks on the roster. And if you combine them all, they're probably not good. Not even the QB1. And now you're sitting there and it looks like Judkins is going to be leaned on, where TreVeyon kind of comes into a situation with the Patriots where they still have Ramondre there. I don't know. I guess Antonio Gibson. They still have kind of like a crowded running back room. What is that offense? What's that identity there? So we'll go to the still Browns fans. Randy, where are you leaning with this pick? TreVeyon, Quinshon, where are you at?
I'm gonna go with Quinshon just for instant opportunity. Obviously, I love TreVeyon Henderson, had him ranked higher. Same kind of thing where we're just going kind of in circles here, but with Henderson, like you said, with Ramondre there, I do envision him taking this over by the end of the season, but I do think it'll be a bit of a running into the ground. I think Henderson will earn his way on the field with his pass blocking and his pass catching ability. Not that Stevenson's a bit of a slouch necessarily in that regard, but he also has had a big problem fumbling the ball throughout his whole career, and I don't see Vrabel putting up with that. So Henderson will take the lead role, I think, a little bit quicker than people assume. But in the same regard, Quinshon's a better goal line back. He's a better 3-down back, just being able to take more touches. And that's what the Browns want. He's in a system that's going to prioritize running the ball and play action. It has to be Quinshon. He's only, really competed with Jerome Ford and Dylan Sampson, who is more TreVeyon Henderson-ish. I think they just drafted to be more of a compliment to him. So I think they drafted Quinshon with knowing he's going to be the workhorse of this team, especially with the sloppy quarterback play they're about to get. Whereas Henderson is just going to be a key asset for the team. There's definitely going to be weeks where Henderson gives you the higher upside with some explosive plays. Definitely more receiving work, even though Judkins showed that earlier in his career. I just think it's a more consistent, safe floor, and you get the goal line touches where I'm not sure Henderson will.
That's just
it's tough, man. It really is.
I get it. I would push back on the Henderson has competition. I just didn't. Ramondre was really bad last year, and I get that Vrabel. I get that Vrabel's probably gonna try to run him into the dirt, but also They spent a really high pick on Henderson, and I think that's now I understand that the Browns did the same exact thing with Quinshon Judkins, but I do think that Dylan Sampson might be better than Ramondre Stevenson as a challenger for that backfield. I was a big Dylan Sampson fan. I know he went day 3, and that's, there's a little bit of difference there. But I just think the explosive plays that we're going to get from TreVeyon Henderson and Drake Mays, the Patriots have improved the offensive line, but they haven't improved it enough to where TreVeyon Henderson doesn't need to be in the backfield on obvious passing downs. And I think what that's going to end up being is a lot more dump offs and a lot more receiving work than we're going to see from Quinshon. So that's where I actually, I think this does matter for what kind of format you're playing in. If you're playing in half PPR and PPR, I'm leaning TreVeyon Henderson because I think even the half PPR component is going to allow him to be ranked, or he's going to finish higher than Quinshon in those regards. However, I think in standard formats, Judkins is probably going to be the better back. I don't know how many people are playing in standard. If you are, shout out to you. I don't play in those types of leagues, so that's why I would just lean TreVeyon here.
TreVeyon's a better back, so I'm gonna make that clear. I think TreVeyon's a better talent, and I think he's there. And I think with your point too, in terms of pass catching, he's probably, gosh, man, I know people love Kyle Williams, and like they're really all about like kind of like what that offense looks like. He might be the number 2 target on this team. Like it all said and done, would it shock you to see like? I mean, how many targets? I mean, you haven't done your projections yet, Christian. We were talking about that. You're on it though. You're excited for it. You're like, it's like the most exciting thing coming in your life. I'd be interested to see like what our target rate, what that's going to be. Like 50 targets, 60 targets maybe for TreVeyon. I don't think that's out of the question. Like I think that we could be realistically looking at a kid. I did see someone on Twitter. Christian's not on Twitter anymore. He's boycotting it. But I did see someone ask, like, when have we seen like a 1,000-yard rusher, 1,000-yard receiving back? Like thinking of like what that looks like. You know who would be my pick for that possibly is TreVeyon. Now I'm not saying this year. Like I'm saying he's a rookie, he's gonna be whatever. But TreVeyon, the type of talent, the type of kid that you could see getting those like, hey, really close that CMC level type like usage based on his pass catching. And like we've talked about multiple times in the show, he is the best pass blocking back in the class, like probably the last 3-4 years. So he's going to be out there. So I think TreVeyon, I'm going to pick TreVeyon there, but I understand the Judkins part. I think that my question, I guess, a little bit for Randy, and then we'll move on to the next one. Like, how much do you see Dylan Sampson playing a role? They did use a 5th round pick on him, like, and just depending on what you see in that backfield, like, is there going to be enough touches? Will they just stack the box against Joe Flacco, Shador Sanders, Dylan Gabriel, Kenny Pickett, and those things, and try to make them run, or make them throw, which is going to be a problem there? Like, I think that's the area that I'm probably the most concerned with.
Yeah, I mean, it's fair, but we've seen that many a times since Stefanski's been there, and it has not mattered. I will say the line is worse than it's been, even when fully healthy in the last couple of years. But I do just, again, on a week-to-week basis, I'd probably pick Henderson for the upside. But if I'm picking right now on a team that needs a running back, I need this guy to start every week for me that he's not in bye, obviously. And he's going to get 15 to 20 touches every week. That's Quinshon for me. And the touchdown upside's there, where Henderson, we're hoping McDaniels reverts back to being a decent offensive coordinator when he can't be a head coach. And, I want to see Christian's projections and compare them to every running back that's been under McDaniels.
I just want them to magically appear, actually. Sorry.
I know, right? Just because I can't, like, in my head picture a McDaniels running back that got all the touches or that, got 60 targets in the passing game and, all the running that we actually want from the guy. But we know Henderson doesn't need all that to be as effective as he can be. I said it all throughout the draft process. If I need 10 touches for running back, even with Genty there, Henderson might take that spot.
James White, right, for the Patriots. How many touches did that guy get back in the day? Remember him? He was a PPR machine. I mean, that was our guy.
Yeah, he was a great flex running back.
Yeah. Well, okay. Yeah.
That-
don't be rude. Like, I don't understand. I was just saying, like, from a McDaniel,
I'm just saying
how much he used. Like,
But
Randy had him
that
every
wasn't
year,
always
so he
McDaniels, though. You got to remember,
Yeah.
McDaniels left 6
that's
times.
true.
You know,
I
like-
forgot. It's hard to imagine where that goes in there. All right. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm Henderson, Randy Judkins, and you picked Henderson too, right, Christian?
Yeah.
We're agreeing. We're agreeing way too much. I think
That
that's
is
the
2 for 2 on just screw Randy.
yeah. Well, we got to fix
We'll
that.
see if that continues.
I did pull up Mike Clay's from ESPN, his predictions. He has Henderson at 46 targets, 35 catches, but he also has Ramondre at 41 targets, which I think is a little high for Ramondre. I think it could be around 60 for Henderson. That's kind of how would I look at it?
Yeah.
All right.
I just don't see Henderson coming off the field on third downs, and I think the Patriots are going to have a lot of third downs.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, well. Yeah, that's also true. All right, let's go over to tight end position. Even though Christian is a hater, we are going to talk about tight ends because they matter. Colston Loveland going to the Bears. Christian's Bears out there. He is going as rookie tight end 2 right now, ADP, but it's vice versa. It really, like, between him and Warren's tight end 1, but it really just depends on where you want these guys. I've seen Warren fall to the second round in some drafts. That definitely has happened out there based on some of the wide receivers getting pushed up. Colston Loveland last year, 6'6", 248, receiving grade 90.6, yards per out run sitting there at 2.67, ADOT 7.1, 582 yards and 5 touchdowns. Warren crushes him in most categories last year after the season that he had. 8 touchdowns, 1,200 yards, 2.78 yards per out run, 93.4 receiving grade out there at Penn State. 6'5", 256. Warren finds himself on the Colts. The Bears get Loveland. Definitely more of a crowded room for Loveland. So when you think of what they have out there, it's really tough thinking about kind of what he's going to be. But I think many project him to be kind of that Sam Laporta type role in Ben Johnson's offense, the red zone guy, which he definitely can utilize that. But when you're thinking of DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, you're thinking of Luther Burden, even Swift, you're thinking of a lot of these guys. Cole Kmet is still there. That's an issue. And then you got Tyler Warren going to Colts, where it was funny, Randy talked about it. Everybody's like, hey, they're going to draft a tight end. And now they draft the tight end. They're like, I don't know about that spot. I'm not sure if I like that spot very much. But really, he comes into a pretty perfect creative offensive scheme for himself, right? And in that offense, in Steichen's offense, you have to imagine him being kind of that first guy, that first read to in the red zone. I mean, or even, to be honest with you, Wildcat, whatever they can use him. The Penn State utilized him that way too. So you're thinking from an offensive perspective, he's going to get a ton of touches. I mean, a Taysom Hill light type player, possibly based on that quarterback room. It's tough right now. Daniel Jones and Richardson are a battle. And like, really, Daniel Jones has looked better in camp and OTAs and everything that we've heard. So if it's Daniel Jones, I'm more excited about Warren, to be honest with you, than I would be with Richardson in there. Christian, where are you at in these two guys?
I plead the fifth. No, this one's tough for me because Warren was my tight end 1 coming into the draft, and then Loveland got the spot with Ben Johnson, and I think that is pretty critical. We talked about it. Sam Laporta got a 15.5% target share last year. That's really high for tight ends, and while that's kind of like that's your upper echelon of tight ends, it's not otherworldly. Like Travis Kelce was up over 20% most years and things like that. But it's really, really hard to separate the targets out for the Chicago Bears. I mean, they've got a slew of weapons. I do think that the tight ends will be involved, but I also think that Cole Kmet's going to be involved as well. And so that's where I get a little iffy on Loveland's immediate impact. However, being attached to a coach that is in his first year, hand selected this kid inside the top 10, I think that from a dynasty perspective is more valuable than the immediate workload. And probably, I think Tyler Warren's going to be a finish higher than Colston Loveland in 2025. I think that is the case. I think when we look at their careers over the next 5 years, I think there's a chance that Loveland is the in football as far as receiving and fantasy football go. I think Warren certainly landed in a spot where he is going to get a large chunk of the work and he can do a lot with it. And hopefully they get creative. I also just don't know if that regime is going to be there after this year. And so I don't know what kind of creativity to get moving forward. I get a little iffy about that aspect of it. So I currently lean Loveland. I think long-term outlook, you have to have a little bit of patience with it. Maybe there's also a chance that Loveland comes in and has a Brock Bowers like impact on this offense and for Caleb Williams. And Ben Johnson does love getting creative with those tight ends, man. So I lean Loveland, but honestly, give me either one of these dudes and I'm pretty happy. I think they're both like top 5 dynasty tight ends right now.
It's a weird spot. It'd be hard pressed for me to go into this Indianapolis receiving room and just say, well, Michael Pittman's the one, so he's already the second option. And Michael Pittman had a down year last year. I do expect to bounce back, but he had a down year. Josh Johnson can't stay healthy, even though he's been impactful when he's on the field. Alec Pierce finally made an impact just to try and keep himself on the team. And A.D. Mitchell didn't really do anything, but there's still targets to be had there in the future. Like you said, the landing spot with the coach, it's night and day. But what we've seen in the Eagles offense for this Colts coach is a tight end be used and be effective, as well as the receivers and a quarterback running the ball. For me, like you said, Christian, I think you take either one, depending on what if all the guys we already mentioned are off the board type thing, or how you feel about the guys we'll go to next. But Colston Loveland is 2 years younger, and he's with the hot coach with more landings, ground to project to the future. He was the first pick for this coach. Him and Burden really have that kind of leeway going into these drafts of like, okay, these are Ben Johnson's guys for the future. Yeah, Warren is that guy for this team, but is it for the team or the coach? So I'll go Loveland just because literally tiebreaker of younger and the vision's there.
We're really going to do this. I'm going to go Warren, which is hilarious because
I'm so happy. So happy.
The whole process.
Michigan.
The whole pre-draft process and everything. I was at Loveland tight end 1. I went to the bat for Loveland. I did all this. But from a fantasy, and I still think Loveland is an amazing player. I think he's going to be a top 5 dynasty asset. But from a fantasy perspective, and just like this is how my process is. 1, I always look at tight ends and I say, hey, are they the number 2 option on their team? Tyler Warren is the number 2 option behind Michael Pittman, in my opinion. Like when you're looking at how this roster is built, like Tyler Warren is their guy. Like when you're looking at red zone, what he can do in terms of like his versatility, like I talk about Wildcat, whatever they want to do in the red zone, they can do it with him. But he's the number 2. Like I look at that and I look at that roster and I think he can be that guy that they go to. Loveland, I don't know how the distribution of targets is going to be in Chicago, at least for this year with DJ Moore. I think next year it'll clear up, like, Christian talks about it too. But it's funny. I just look at it and I think if Daniel Jones is the starter, I think it's going to be huge for Warren because I think he's going to get a ton of first read looks. I think they're going to utilize him in the way they need to utilize him. I think he fits with Pittman on the outside. I think Downs and those guys are going to be good inside, but I love the way that they're going to use him. I think Steichen is I think he is a very good offensive mind. I just think he struggled with that QB spot. I think they have a plan for Tyler Warren. And I think he outscores Loveland this year. And I think that could be one of those things where these guys go back and forth, which is great. I think they're both top 5 assets, but I'm leaning Warren. So, eat your heart out there, Michigan people, because I'm the biggest Loveland fan in the world. I still have Loveland, but full disclosure, in a rookie in a draft that is 2 points PPR tight end that I needed a tight end. Kyle Pitts is my best tight end, and we just got to talk about Kyle Pitts for the algorithm. I took Tyler Warren at 105, not Colston Loveland. So I'm going to stick with my, I'm not just someone out here that doesn't stick with his picks. I'll take Tyler Warren.
Yeah, I mean, that was my whole point. I do think if I had to pick today, I think Warren would score more points this year, but it is a dynasty take and not a fantasy take. So,
yeah, no, 100%. Like I get it. I just think I still think that he has Warren to me has a pretty safe floor with the roster that he's on right now. Now that shit changes quickly. We know how dynasty works, and who knows with this regime. But I do think whatever regime comes in, if they do finally fire this coaching staff and general manager, probably one of the biggest selling points of this roster is going to be Tyler Warren, just like it was for Brock Bowers, just like it was for, in terms of what they can do on that roster there. All right. Last one before we dive into rapid fire. Kaleb Johnson, Pittsburgh Steelers, running back 5. He's going rookie ADP, running back 5-ish right now. When you think of what his year was last year, 86.7 rush grade, missed tackles 466, 10 plus explosive runs. He had 43 of those, 1,535 yards and 21 touchdowns. That's pretty good. This next guy, though, beats him in every single category, which was actually kind of shocking when I was putting this stuff up. RJ Harvey, UCF running back. I got it. Christian was on way earlier than all you're seeing all these truthers now jumping out there. RJ had a great year. 22 touchdowns, 1,578 yards, 54 explosive runs, 69 missed tackles for us, 89.5 PFF rushing grade. Now, he's a little smaller, sitting at 5'8", 205, but he got drafted by the Broncos. So when you're thinking of location and spot, apparently it's Sean Payton's long lost son. Like that guy is just like posting them on social media, doing all kinds of stuff that we're seeing there. Kaleb finds himself in the Steelers with Jaylen Warren. And while I'm no Kaleb truther, I'm definitely not Jaylen Warren truther. So I'm not that worried about what is going on in that backfield there. But Randy, where are you leaning at with these two guys? I'm interested to see what your take is here. I've seen them flipped. I've seen Harvey go before Johnson. It definitely just comes down to preference with these guys. Harvey's been going 109, 108 in some leagues. So definitely can be a little earlier.
Yeah, I've spent many of our Dynasty draft just trying to get one of the two, and that's really just to have a running back. But to be fair, this is only bad for me because Kaleb Johnson I like, but I hate the style because it's just Najee Harris all over again, and we're just getting a slightly better utilization with a better offensive line. That's the hope with Kaleb Johnson. So we're going to be more efficient. Which a more efficient Najee Harris is definitely an RB2, if not an RB1. RJ Harvey, just to be fair to him, I hate these running backs that just refuse to run in between the tackles. And me and Christian have had a lot of debates about it. He was much higher at Kenneth Walker than I was, even if I did have him decently high. But it's for the same exact reason. It is so frustrating to just watch them not go through the hole because they're trying to make a big play on the outside. In the NFL, that gets you a limited snaps. It just does. Now, RJ Harvey is loved by Sean Payton, like you said, not what he thought was the best back in the class from what I saw a few times on Twitter a couple weeks ago. He went on record and said he wanted Genty, he knew he couldn't get him, so RJ Harvey was his 2, which is perfectly fine. That could be great. I do think with the coaching, with the quarterback, with the system, I think you go RJ Harvey. I think you already know what Kaleb Johnson is. And when the line was pretty decent, the quarterback play was decent, Najee Harris was a good running back. He was a solid every week starter for you, got in the end zone, got 20 touches a game, and you were happy. You were safe. It's that 2010 running back, you really loved it. But if you want explosive plays, we've already kind of done those. It's literally the exact opposite take of what I had earlier, but it's RJ Harvey for the big plays. And, the coaching staff, the system, I think the offense is ready to go day one. The line is better than the Steelers, even if the Steelers have improved it. I do have Kaleb Johnson as a better player, though.
Well, you're wrong. So congrats.
I said why I don't like it, and I said – we disagree.
I know. You guys know. I mean, if you've listened to this show, singing his praises, RJ Harvey's praise, months. I mean, legitimately last year during summer scouting is when, I'm annoying. We've established this on the people listen to me talk. But so I won't just talk about how incredible I think the player is, because I do think he's incredible. The main thing for me is RJ Harvey is primarily a zone player. And I think that's going to be a big part of Denver's offense this year. Last year, they had 205 zone rushing attempts, 154 gap scheme. And, most of the gap scheme stuff went to Javonte Williams. So I think there is still a role for between the tackles runner. But like you said, Randy, you don't like the guys who kick the ball or kick outside and can't run between the tackles. I think what this Denver offensive line is going to be able to do is get out in space and be in the spots that RJ Harvey excels in. And so when I see that, and when I see, I mean, last year, Jaleel McLaughlin was the best running back for the Denver Broncos. There's a reason that he pushed for so many snaps. He had 115 attempts. And he was fine, but there was just no meat on the bone with him. He didn't break many tackles. That's what separates a player like McLaughlin, who's also undersized to a larger extent, but RJ Harvey can run through people too. And I know we didn't see it a whole lot at UCF because he's just so effective at forcing missed tackles with his shiftiness and his ability to just bounce off of arm tackles, but he'll run through you too. And so while he is a little short, compact, like I've talked about it, I think RJ Harvey might be a top 12 of dynasty running back at this time next year. Like when we're talking about this again, I just think there's a chance that because Sean Payton's in love with this kid, he gets enough work to be the next Alvin Kamara. And I know people are going to say, well, he's not the same player. No, but there are a lot of skills that both of those players do. I think the receiving work is certainly going to RJ Harvey. And I love the kid. We know this, but you would never, ever catch me drafting Caleb Johnson over RJ Harvey. Sorry, Caleb. You're a good player, but
this was hard for me because I've been deemed like the RJ Harvey hater, but I hate Caleb Johnson worse. Like I like going in the process. I was not a Caleb Johnson guy either. So like neither one of these guys that I'm a big fan of. I think Randy hit on the head when he started talking about it earlier with like Johnson is like that Najee Harris, like that's how I feel with him, like as an asset. Like he could be okay. He's a downhill kid. He's going to get those. I think the thing that probably flips it for me on this one is really just the pass catching ability. I think Harvey has that. And I think that Johnson, we've seen not have that. I mean, he's got the dump offs, he has that stuff, but I think the way the offenses are going to utilize both these guys, I'm just going to lean to what the offense I think is going to utilize the guy the best, and that's going to be RJ Harvey. Like, I don't love it. I don't love the pick just because of the process is really what I'm leaning on, not really the player. I just look at it saying, hey, PPR, he can kind of do the things that I need him to do, give me those points. Whereas Caleb, it's going to be frustrating to watch that offense. And not to mention, who the hell is the Steelers quarterback? Is it Mason Rudolph? Is it what's going on there?
Well, it's Mason Rudolph or Aaron Rodgers who's on tour with like a B level rapper is what I would call it right now. That's what Aaron Rodgers is doing. So I think it's probably Mason Rudolph.
He should retire, and it should be Kirk. And then I'm liking the offense a bit better with the coach. Obviously Arthur Smith, but again, he's literally going to fill the role that they let walk. It's not a big thing. Jaylen Warren really wasn't able to take over the lead back role with Najee there. I don't see him taking it over again either.
No.
But I would definitely say Caleb Johnson has more competition for touches early on than RJ Harvey does. McLaughlin, I think, is going to still have an impact. I do think he's a really good asset in the passing game as well. It's just weird because it's literally just if you get one, you're happy that you have an asset in the running back room. But if you're drafting one for upside at the back end of the first, it's RJ Harvey.
And for what it's worth, I've considered RJ Harvey as early as 107 in leagues that I need a running back, and all the other running backs just went out. Like I take RJ Harvey over Quinshon sometimes. I've done it, and people will be like, "You're an idiot," and Randy especially will be like, "You're an idiot. I would take Quinshon over TreVeyon."
I just say that when you breathe, so it's fine.
God damn, that's fair, but also. That's just kind of where I land on RJ Harvey. So if you guys want to listen to Randy and Kevin, they're more level-headed about this kid. And
I'm just in the middle. Like I don't think I could take him over Judkins because I don't think he's in that class. Of running back.
No.
Yeah, I had him.
You did though pre.
You did.
Yeah, yes. Pre-draft, I had him ranked over Quinshon.
So that's fine.
Post-draft boosted Quinshon to me. It's just post-draft also boosted Harvey. So.
Yeah, which is fine. I think Estime is going to have a little bit more of a role. I just, when you think of Caleb, I've never been excited watching Caleb Johnson play football. I've never been like, that's a running back.
He was in Iowa.
Well, that's yes, but I've never looked at him as being a transcendental star, and him going to Steelers kind of just proves that he's Najee Harris light, right? Like that's what they're looking for in there. I think Harvey does offer a higher ceiling. So I definitely think Harvey, like I know the ADP is different, which is probably because of a lot of early drafts, because I would imagine Harvey's bumped himself up a little bit more higher than Kaleb has, because after that Judkins tier, you just basically pick your poison. Is it going to be really the only running backs left is Kaleb and RJ Harvey? After that, like Cam, Scatterbo, those guys, those are all mid-second round guys. So you're really picking that. If I was picking a ceiling, it'd be RJ Harvey.
Yeah, it's running backs getting pushed up. That's all it's left up to these two. But that's why I said I was very happy to get either.
Yeah.
Anywhere I was drafting, if I needed running back, they're a great option. Late first, early second, mid second. If you could somehow get him in the mid second, if receivers are flying off the board. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think both went to, I would say, ideal landing spots for what systems they should be in.
The other point I wanted to bring up to you, I got sidetracked because I'm old and I forgot when you were talking about the quarterback situation and the offense. I have a hard time seeing a path and a direction for the Pittsburgh Steelers franchise, which is really weird for me to say because they've been such a stalwart, right, of what they are. This is our identity. This is what it's going to be. There's a identity for the Broncos. As long as Sean Payton is there, we know what they're going to do. And that's where I feel a little bit more comfortable with RJ Harvey, just from hey, this is the system. Now, Sean Payton's going to piss some people off when he's rotating three backs at times. And he will do that. Like there's going to be that. So with the caveat saying is the one reason why I am concerned about Harvey is I wasn't high on him as a prospect as high as that, but also I do worry about that system a little bit, but shit, if he keeps doing TikToks with Sean Payton's daughter and doing all the stuff that he's been doing, like maybe I missed that. Maybe I missed the memo of him just loving this kid so much. So
yeah, I mean, I'm in the Sean Payton camp, you know.
You are.
Have been.
You are, which is a weird camp to be in, Mr. Bounty.
I don't really like being in that, but it's okay.
All right, let's jump over to rapid fire. I do have the ADP up. I will talk about it. First group up, Luther Burden versus Matthew Golden right now. Luther Burden, man, he's fallen a ton in terms of rookie value and rookie drafts. Right now, he's at wide receiver 5. Matthew Golden is wide receiver 4. They're relatively going around. Matthew's going like late first, early second. Luther's kind of going mid second. It's crazy. He's falling behind like Jayden and Trey and those guys, which I think is really kind of shocking. But generally speaking, these guys are going back to back. Christian, where are you leaning with these two?
This one's tough. It's kind of a situation where both of them are in really competitive target share opportunities. Like Burden, I think Burden's more of a long-term outlook. I think Golden is too. Pre-draft, I had them with an identical grade, and the problem is I think both of these offenses are fantastic. I think Caleb Williams has a higher ceiling, and I think DJ Moore's lifespan is limited on that offense. But on the flip side, the whole Packers wide receiver core has a short lifespan right now, clearly, because they went and got TreVeyon Williams as well. I'll be honest, I've had this, I think 2 times, and I've taken Burden both times. I've also just landed Burden in the middle of the second round because people are fading him. And so maybe that skews how I'm viewing him right now, because I do think from a value perspective, Burden's a better value right now. I'm curious to see what the Packers do with Golden. So this is me just not picking anyone. I'm Switzerland here. No, I'll take Burden because I do think from a talent perspective, if you can get that kid engaged, the grades wouldn't have been equal. That was kind of the thing that separated them. So pre-draft, talent only, it's Luther Burden, and he has Ben Johnson. So
it's a weird thing for me. I think you kind of just hit it on the head there. It's just you're kind of just picking future for either one. And we kind of already said it before. I think the future is brighter in Chicago when you're looking at pure upside from what they are right now versus Green Bay, simply because we know what Green Bay is. But again, first round receiver, which is something the Packers don't do. They also don't have any vacated targets. And that's with everyone being hurt all year. I think I'd go Luther Burden because they just have so much to give in this offense. I do think he's going to have a role in the first year and then obviously take over. However, at the end of camp, we're about to hit the season, and all the Packers receivers are somehow healthy, and they trade one of them. I think I lean Golden once someone's gone, which after this year could be 2 or 3 of them. So
I think for me, it just projects in terms of I think Caleb Williams better than Jordan Love. I like Ben Johnson more than LaFleur, and I'm going to lean with the talent there. And I'm just going to I'm go there.
Yeah, just a battle of Christian's loves there. Crazy.
It is a battle of Christian's loves there. But I do think, to me, Burton is the more talented player. I like Golden, but I don't have any Golden shares. I have in all my rookie drafts, I just haven't been able to draft him. I do have Luther shares. I mean, I got Luther at 207. I mean, I'll take that all day in terms of the value of what he can be. Like, that's definitely one area I'm leaning.
Yeah, and ceiling from what we've seen from Burton is way better than the ceiling we've seen from Golden. So
yeah. No, 100%. All right, next group, wide receivers we got. Jayden Higgins and Tre Harris. Kind of going back to back. Jayden Higgins is wide receiver 6 out there at Houston. Tre Harris at wide receiver 7. I'll go first in this one. This is a very easy answer for me. It's Tre Harris. To me, I think that Tre Harris, when you're looking at where his spot is with the Chargers, I think he fits really, really well in that offense. I think he fits very well next to Ladd McConkey. I think those two are going to obviously be the share of the targets there. Quentin Johnston's fine. I'm not, that's Christian's man. That's not mine. I think that when you think of it, I think that really Quentin Johnston's an afterthought now. I think that Harris really can be that guy. We comped him to Nico Collins in our rookie guide. I think that's a fair comp in terms of what he maybe becomes with Herbert there. I'm less bullish on Jayden Higgins. I actually like Noel better, probably. I think that when you're thinking of like value and who you'd rather draft. So I'm leaving Tre there. Randy, where are you going?
Jayden Higgins over Noel. But the thing with that, yeah, I know I'm the island on that one. It's fine. Everyone's got their one. Really, to me, this is Jayden Higgins, round 2, when these both, that discussion, Jayden Higgins at that point versus Tre Harris, it's Jayden Higgins all the way. Even with, Tank coming back in a year, all that. Just how these offenses kind of operate is what we've seen so far. But the second they drafted Noel, it's like, all right, yep, it's Harris. There's just more. There's more to go around in a passing offense that isn't great either, but still, I think he'll be the number 2 option in the offense pretty clearly. I think they brought in Najee and drafted a running back to be a running back focused team, which is not surprising with their head coach. But I think Harris has the better opportunity just because of who's there. And, obviously, if we get some healthy seasons in Houston from this entire wide receiver core, it's just a lot of competition for targets. So even though I obviously have Higgins over Harris in their grading scale for me, and it's not even close, it's got to go Harris, unfortunately. And I really hate doing that, picking the landing spot over the talent, but it's how it has to be for this one.
Well, and I mean, I know you're a Higgins over Noel person, but you weren't a Noel hater either. Like, that's a good player that they got at a really good value. I have this 7, 8, 9 in my wide receiver rankings for rookies, and it goes Tre Harris, Jalen Noel, Jayden Higgins. So I do take Noel over Higgins, and I'm going to be honest with you, I don't put a whole lot into OTAs. To be honest, I just everyone freaks out because we haven't seen football, so they get overly excited, and I'll leave it at that. But Jalen Noel has been more impressive from what I've gathered from some of the stuff I've seen, in that he is working harder, which is an interesting thing that I've seen. It sounds like Higgins is going to the back of lines because he's nervous to compete, and Jalen Noel's no, I'll go first. So I do think Noel, and I think Noel is going to be a target hog for them. So I think not a target hog. Nico Collins is going to be a target hog, but when you're looking at the secondary options, it's I would take Noel there. And Tre Harris, I think he was super underrated. I think there was a lot to work with. And then we just didn't see him against the top competition because of the injury. We just didn't get to see him versus the best corners in the nation. And a lot of his production came against really shitty teams. I think that goes into the evaluation, but also then you watch him run routes and you're like, man, this kid is way too big to be running routes with that much nuance. And it only flashed. It wasn't all the time, but it was there enough that I think he and Harbaugh and Herbert are just going to click pretty quickly. And I still do like Quentin Johnston. I don't think, Lad McConkey is the one there as well, the same way Nico Collins is in Houston. But I'll lean Trey Harris here. It's close, but Trey Harris.
Yeah. I mean, again, the injury. He plays for Ole Miss. Everyone hates scouting Ole Miss. So for quarterbacks and wide receivers, it's very limited in what they do. I mean, we had a debate of, DK Metcalf and AJ Brown and where they should be drafted back then, simply because all they did was run 9 routes and screens. And and unfortunately for Harris, he had a bit more of a depth tree because he doesn't have as much competition as that room, but it still wasn't enough to really catapult him up boards. And I think it does knock him in the grading skill at times, but definitely underrated with the injury in the offense. He should be in contention for early second round draft, dynasty pick for sure. And I think he has a lot of upside for this team.
Again, it's about process, man. I mean, that's why I lean Harris. I think for me, he could be the wide receiver 1. I know Lad's there. I get it. But I just look at that team, and whatever team doesn't have Nico on it and Noel, I'll take the other guy. Because I do think Noel, when he does come back. And that's kind of where I lean with those two guys, especially when they're going back to back. Those two guys have gone literally back to back. Unless Scatabo sneaks his way in there, like almost every draft I've seen him in there. All right, let's go to tight ends. Mason Taylor versus Terrance Ferguson. Two guys, when you're looking at their ADP, Mason Taylor's tight end 3, back into the second. Terrance Ferguson tight end 4. Literally, like his ADP is 25, Mason Taylor's is 24. So these guys are definitely going back to back there. Terrance found himself in a great spot with the Los Angeles Rams. Mason Taylor finds himself in a pretty good spot with the New York Jets, who are still looking for offensive weapons, right? They got Brees, they have Garrett Wilson. After that, I did see someone making a comment about how much Lazard makes there, but it was a pretty tongue-in-cheek comment, so I was laughing about that there. Christian, where are you at with these two guys? I'm interested in your take. I don't think I've heard your take with these guys.
I feel like maybe because you were mad that I had Taylor and Arroyo below Ferguson in my pre-draft, and
that's fair. You're going Ferguson, and
the landing spot to me, boy, as much as I want to trust the Jets and Justin Fields, I don't I've talked about how I think that Justin Fields can succeed and this Jets offense can succeed, but when you factor in that Ferguson's not the best blocker in the world, Taylor had his moments of really good blocking, in my opinion. Everyone knocked him for his blocking, and I thought that he was pretty tremendous, especially when getting out in run blocking on the edge. But to me, the creativity lies in that Rams offense and with Terrance Ferguson. So I am going to go in that direction. I think they've been searching for a tight end like Terrance Ferguson for quite a few years now. I mean, they had a little bit of it with Higbee and things like that, but I just think Ferguson offers so much more to what they can do. So I lean Ferguson. I do think Taylor's going to get a pretty decent share of targets this year for what it's worth. Justin Fields does like his tight end. I just don't know how effective the offense is going to be to the point that Taylor's actually fantasy relevant.
This is a weird one because you'd like to just competition for targets. Terry Ferguson has much higher competition with Puka, but they're reshaping this offense and trying to get younger in spots with an aging quarterback, obviously. But offensive mind, I think Ferguson is the better landing spot for upside, but Mason Taylor is the better upside, better landing spot for just instant production. I'd argue he should be the second target for the offense. And just like Kevin alluded to earlier, when you're kind of looking for these tight ends of the future, especially right out of the gate as a rookie, you're trying to find if they are the second option. I think Ferguson could compete for the second option. I think Taylor will be the second option. So I'll go Taylor, but it is as neck and neck as the Warren and Loveland for me, just because obviously offensive head coach, genius. And, they were looking at both these tight ends. They preferred Ferguson slightly over Taylor. I think that says a lot to where both should be very impactful. And I want to go there, but the aging quarterback versus not really any competition besides one, receiver and Garrett Wilson, I have to go that route. Especially also Justin Fields has loved tight ends, over the years. So
This is a coin flip to max. I have both these guys a ton. Like I really do. Like it is a coin flip there. I hear Christian's point. I really do in terms of what that offense could be. I think that creativity wise, yes, it is the Rams. Like we know that there. It is interesting that he's kind of hedging his bets on Justin Fields though, Randy. Isn't that funny how Christian is kind of hedges his bets there?
Yeah, they switch up on you. It's like going Tyler Warren over Loveland after all this time.
But you look at what Justin Fields did with Cole Kmet. I mean, he made Cole Kmet Cole Kmet had 13 touchdowns in 2 years of Fields. He averaged probably I can't do math in my head, but 78-ish targets there. I mean, over 1,000 yards in those 2 years. So if that's the case, I'm gonna say Mason Taylor because I've been a Mason Taylor guy. I do think, like I've been preaching again, could be the number 2 target on the team. Brees is probably number 2, but he could be someone in there that can really kind of separate themselves a little bit from a pass catching perspective. So to me, I'm going to lean Taylor, but I cannot fault anybody from taking Terrance. I've had this decision multiple times. I've taken both of them because I'm going to hedge my bets a little bit. And I can undoubtedly see Terrance Ferguson he's a perfect spot. Like you're thinking a perfect spot, but I do think both do have quarterback things because if Fields doesn't pan out, if we're thinking of like, what does that future look for the Rams, right? When you're thinking of Stafford, is he going to be there? I think that's the question mark there.
Yeah.
Randy, did you have anything you were going to say something about? No, Breece Hall.
No. Well, I guess Fields historically hasn't passed to running backs like that, but
yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm. All right, last one. We're just going to do this one. I wanted to flip it up a little bit so it's not same positions. Kyle Williams, who's getting a ton of buzz out there on the Twitter streets. I don't know what the skeets look like, but the tweets are, they love Kyle Williams in New England. Wide receiver 10 is where he's going at, basically early third. And then we have Jayden Blue, he's gone high, boys. Like I've seen Jayden Blue running back in Dallas going a second round before. Like he's going in there in terms of his ADP, he's going at running back 9. Couple picks after Kyle Williams is in there. So this is, again, not based on, your roster, what you need. Who would you rather have if you're looking at it, all things considered, you just want to take the best player? Christian, where are you at?
Well, I hate how you frame that question because I think the best player is Jayden Blue, but from a dynasty team building perspective, I'd rather take the wide receiver that's attached to Drake May than the running back that's attached to the Dallas Cowboys. Yeah. And the only reason for that is just, from a dynasty, how you can build rosters out. Sure, hitting on those day 3 running backs and mid-round rookie pick running backs can be super fruitful for a dynasty roster. But if Kyle Williams hits, you have an asset that's not going to expire in 4 years. It's going to be something that's tied to what we hope is one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL and Drake May once we get there. So that's why it's really hard because, like I said, I think talent-wise, I like Blue. I think that Blue is going to have a pretty significant role in this Dallas offense. I just really, really, really do not trust Brent Schottenheimer. I just don't. I'm sorry. I don't like the direction. We talked about the Steelers not having direction right now. I just don't necessarily know if the Cowboys do either. The more I sit with this team build, I'd rather take a chance on the wide receiver that might have Drake May,
Yeah. Jayden Blue's competed with Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders, and I guess Maffa for touches here. I would argue right now Jayden Blue might be the best running back on the team. But like you said, this is a coaching thing for me to where I said it with Rabel in New England. Jayden Blue cannot hold on to the ball, and he just can't. And, and that was unlimited touches, unlimited availability. So I don't love that. I love with the upside with the talent, but I did have a lot of knocks on Jayden Blue as compared to Christian, who, hot take central. But Kyle Williams, I just mess with him. But Kyle Williams has the opportunity to be a wide receiver 2 for this team this year and possibly wide receiver next year for a better quarterback by this time next year, I think. So I think it has to be Kyle Williams, especially because Jayden Blue doesn't have the draft capital that'd be like moving forward for the future for running back position. The Cowboys thought they should invest elsewhere last year in the draft. We just did a mock. I just had them take a running back in the first round again just because it's funny. But I do think that is a possibility that they go running back very early next year, and Jayden Blue will be kind of an afterthought after a year. Talent-wise and upside, I think that shouldn't be the case, but it very well could happen.
So the homerish aside, so with the Dallas Cowboys, of course, I've talked myself into Schottenheimer in the last month. I've talked myself into Jayden Blue. That's just how us Cowboys fans do this. I think you hit it on the head in terms of what could these guys be like moving forward? I think Jayden Blue is a very, very solid flex PPR option with probably a very low ceiling, high floor type guy if he gets to start, right? That's no guarantee in this offense. Like, there is no guarantee of how this is going to play out. I mean, shit, I could see Miles Sanders getting some run. Like, if we're being honest, like all of a sudden Miles Sanders getting a ton of usage, and then Jayden Blue's getting 5 targets, and you're like, yay, James White light. I'm just going to throw James White in there every single time. So like, you'd be excited with that. I think the thing is like, I'd lean Kyle here too. He is tied to Drake May, and I think there's an area where you could say like, well, how many times can you just find a small, slot receiver, or just not small, but just a slot receiver like Kyle Williams, and that's probably true. But the way that the Patriots have not failed to build around Drake May, but like Stephon Diggs does not excite me. Like, I don't know, like people are really excited about this guy, and I'm like, hey, yeah, he's fine. But when you're thinking of like they missed on Jalen Polk, their tight end room is okay. Like when you're thinking of what Kyle can be, I mean, you're talking about a solid wide receiver 3, right? And if he creates that momentum and he creates that rapport with Drake May, you're excited for what that could be in year 2. Jayden Blue, I don't think his value changes a ton. And I mean, he's going to have flashes. He's a good PPR. He's all these things, but I don't know necessarily. I think you're always looking at Jayden Blue as being a PPR option with maybe a high floor, where you're looking at Kyle Williams being, man, he's really connected with Drake May. We see some upside there, and there's more baked in value with Kyle Williams. I think Kyle Williams will grow in value over Jayden Blue based on the position, the draft capital, who he's tied to, those things. So if I'm in a rookie draft and I'm looking at it, I'm going to lean that value perspective more. So that's why I would take Kyle.
I'll just, devil's advocate. Efton Chisholm is out there, and he's doing good things at Patriots camp, I've seen. So, he could be Drake May's wide receiver 1, his new Julian Edelman, the new version of Wes Welker. He plays more like Wes Welker, but no, just, I don't think that's actually going to happen. I just hope Efton Chisholm freaking makes the team, because he was like inside my top 20 wide receivers at some point. And the buzz is real. Stephon Diggs is like congratulating him. So I didn't see anything about Kyle Williams getting congratulated by Stephon Diggs, aka Cardi B's boyfriend or whatever. I don't know what's going on.
Diggs just needs to stay out of the media for a week. I don't really care if he's congratulating.
But they still have DeMario. I mean, that's something to note too. Mm-hmm. I really like DeMario Douglas. Like, I don't like Mac Hollins, so like that's probably part of it. But like, I do think that DeMario's still there. I don't know. I just don't trust the Cowboys staff. I don't know what that room is going to look like. That's the problem.
I don't trust it'll be the same staff next year.
No. And then you got Javonte, and it's just like, I like Javonte-ish, like what he is. Like, I just think the usage and the volume is just not amazing. I'll take a wide receiver, I guess. It's tough. It's a really tough call, but I would leave my receiver just based on that perceived value in there.
It does seem like this offense is being set up to be super pass heavy as well, which does, I agree. I think that leans more towards Jayden Blue. But Javonte can give you some quality reps there as well. Mm-hmm. But again,
Javonte's not dead.
No, he's not. He's not. But he's not. I mean, we know what he is. Yeah. I think it's kind of how it sets. And we know the commitment level to him on this team, and that's kind of the issue. And I don't know. It's just weird when we have all the question marks, so we're not sure about stability for a running back and how quickly the running backs outlooks change in Dynasty. It has to go to the receiver that has a chance.
Yeah.
Agreed.
All right. That is our show. This or that. We kind of worked through our rookie picks here. I believe it's summer, boys. Summer is out, so we're excited about that. So summer scouting is popping in pretty soon, unless Christian goes on a rant that he wants to change everything like he did this week. But I'm pretty sure we'll be diving into some summer scouting positions here as we get into it. So we're really excited about the 26 class. If you want more summer scouting or even 2026 content, Substack, we got a bunch of them. I've written up almost 5 quarterbacks, 6 quarterbacks probably by the time this comes out. So you can go check that out. I know Christian has talked about him diving into some 2026 guys. We need to bully him and to write him about some defensive guys because he doesn't want to, but we definitely want to get him there. So if you wanted to get it ready to talk about that, go find our Substack. I mean, you can join our Patreon as well. But go look at that. You know, we have in-depth articles there, and there's no cookie cutter stuff. Like we talked about when we did our mock draft, we talked about the real stuff with these guys. Like, I'm not sitting here telling you every single quarterback is going to be a first round pick. Like, it's just not happening. So that's just not what we're doing next week too, if we dive into the summer scouting there. So appreciate you guys as always tuning in. If you are on YouTube, hit that like and subscribe button. If you're on the podcast, leave us a review. It'd be cool. Give us some reviews out here. We see you're listening, so let's get some reviews. Let's pump up that algorithm a little bit, and you know it'd be nice for you guys to do that. So appreciate you guys. We'll check you guys next week.